Magandang araw po sa inyo lahat mga kaibigan. Welcome po dito sa ating programa, Juvy De Guzman, Let's Talk on the Air, sa Pag-Usapan Natin. At narito po sa ating tabi ang isang tao na matagal ko nang gustong kausapin pero nawalan ho ako ng chance dahil nga po sa maraming bagay, no? Alam niyo naman ito pong sinasabi ko pong tao ay rami na kanyang karanasan sa iba't ibang larangan din. Siguro hindi ko na pahabain mga kaibigan at isa hong malaking pagkakataon para sa akin at para din sa lahat ng mga followers natin, taga-subaybay ho ng inyong lingkod na makakadaupang palad natin ang aking bagong katoto. Ayan. And hopefully matuto tayo sa kanyang mga revelasyon ngayong araw nito. Let's welcome Ramon Pedrosa. Magandang araw po.
Good evening. Salamat. Maupay nga gabi.
Yan, maupay. Good. Marunong kayo magwaray, no? Kayo po ba'y mula saan?
Tiga Palolete po.
Palolete.
My family is from Palolete.
Okay. Ako kasi pag nagbisaya ako, halo-halo. May Ilonggo, may Waray, may Cebuano. Yun ba, ang pag sinabing Waray, iba yung Waray sa Bisaya, ano?
Well, Bisaya is the whole region.
The whole, okay.
You have Cebuanos, you have mga Ilonggo.
Ilonggo, Bisaya pa rin yun.
Bisaya yun lahat.
Ayun. Pero so, pag sinabing Waray, Bisayang Waray. So pag sinabing Waray, saan lugar?
The Waray are from Samar and Eastern Leyte. Because the left side of Leyte is more Cebuano.
Okay. Naku, nakakatuwa naman kasi yung mga pagiging Waray, Bisaya. Hindi ko masyadong maintindihan kasi unless pag sinabing Ilonggo, tingin ko Bisaya pa rin yun. Which is tama pala. Okay, Ramon, alam mo, marami po tayong nais malaman mula sa inyo dahil alam ko, bihasa po kayo sa usapin tungkol dito sa bagong partido na kung saan ay ating pong natunghayan kamakailan yung tungkol sa kapisanan ng Demokratikong Pilipino.
Katipunan.
Katipunan. Ayun. Kapisanan, yung KBP, yung pala yung akin. Anyway, okay, Pedro, ito po gusto ko lang, Ramon, gusto ko lang pong malaman mula ho sa inyo yung tungkol dito kasi mula umpisa hanggang ngayon marami yung pinagdaanan to bago yata ito sumapit sa hangganan.
Okay, pero sana maunawaan po ninyo na ako po hindi native born Tagalog.
Okay.
Ako Waray, kaya ako minsan punta sa Waray, punta sa Tagalog, punta sa English.
Okay. Pwede mo yan.
Para maipaliwanag kung anong gusto kong sabihin.
Sige po.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Yeah. Paano ba ito nag-umpisa? Itong ating pinag-uusapang katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino. Alam nyo, it sounds like KBP also kasi yes. Kung babaybayin mo naman ito naman ay KDP, no?
Tama.
Sounds like. Okay.
But it's a resurrection of the Katipunan.
Katipunan.
We like to think that we are the resurrected generation of Andres Bonifacio.
Puro mga bayani yung pinag-uusapan na yan. Okay.
The original bayani.
Original.
Yeah. Ngayon, sapagkat awan ko kung masasakin ninyo ito, the creation of the Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino was an act of God.
Yeah.
Hindi inaasahan na magkakaroon ng ganun. Pero kami po, ang aming chairman, si Butch Valdez, Antonio Valdez, tiga Pampanga. Ako, tiga Palolete. Yung aming Secretary General, si Dr. Ricardo Fulgencio, Tagalog. Nagkaisa kami.
Grabe, no? Iba-ibang dialect, nagkaintindihan. Kapampangan, Tagalog, at Bisaya. Okay, good. Minsan nabanggit nyo sa akin na meron kayong ginawang sulat na pwede ho bang ibigay nyo sa amin para malaman natin paano nag-umpisa to? Kasi nga gusto kong malaman din pati na noon pala meron na kayong nilikhang sulat sa pagbanggit nyo tungkol dun sa ating bagong naging presidente. At ito ngayon, naging sensational dahil dun sa kanyang mga salita na ayaw payagan ng mga dati ayaw ng mga tao. Ayaw na banggitin ito. Yung, alam niyo na, yung salitang PI. Kasi ako, hindi ako sanay magmura Pero, bakit naging sensational tong salita na to? At mula dun sa inyong sulat na nilikha, pwede bang ma-share natin sa ating mga taga-subaybay yung inyong liham na ginawa nyo pa way back 2016, right?
Opo.
Okay.
Ito, sa ako'y abogado, itong si Duterte, he came out of nowhere, di ba?
Yes.
How did it happen, and why did the Filipino people gravitate around him? So, ito yung binuo ko to try to explain to myself, to my children, this phenomenon called Duterte.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Kasi alam niyo, nung nabasa ko siya, kakaiba na parang kayo po ang nag-iisip ng mga kakaibang layunin ng ating parang masabi na natin is it a God will, or ito ba'y nagawa dahil lang sa inyo rin? O ano man yung assessment?
Alam na kayo, paano yun? No?
Paano natin?
That's my assessment. No?
Okay.
Ito po sinabi ko. No? Primero yung background. No? There were two opium wars that the British Empire forced the Chinese to buy during the 1800s. They deliberately introduced the opium narcotic at tremendous profits for themselves. But it destroyed the largest economy in the world. China was the largest economy in the world. It demoralized the Chinese army and the Chinese people, depriving them of the will to resist, causing the downfall of the last dynasty, the Qing dynasty in China. Gawa ng mga British yan. The narcotic, in its modern derivatives and the many inorganics that are created in laboratories since then, has now become the bane in every country in the world. For the first time in our republic, and even if I may attempt a proposition, in the world.
The world.
A reality we did not or refused to see, which confronted our people, was identified: the massive drug addiction being suffered by our population. That reality was echoed by Mayor Rodrigo Duterte of Davao. And it is a single factor that the electorate responded to, catapulting him into the presidency. We forget, my friends, that this man alone, no politician, no Senate, no Congress, no barangay supported him. It was the taong bayan, the common people, who listened. The haves, the educated, the church, the political parties, the do-gooders did not want to have anything to do with him. His provincial manners, his grammar, or his religion. They were irrelevant in the astounding victory at the polls of this man. And now they want to undo him. They are the present causes, if I may essay a proposition, for the instability in our country. The upper crust, the 3%, are firmly embedded in the economic and their political power, while the taong bayan reels hopelessly from one administration after another. The principalia, which we call them, the haves, the educated, and the religious in our society, are the causes for the instability in our nation, composed to a great extent of the have-nots the uneducated, and the irreligious. The dichotomy has gone full turn. The rich think of the poor as a nuisance, and the poor of the rich as irrelevant. And that society is erected on the bones of those who stood in the way of the rich and the powerful. Starting from Andres Bonifacio. He was murdered by his own people who belonged to the Principalia. Duterte is waging an undeclared war for which there is no model. For it is a war that cannot be waged and won following normal rules of warfare. Many among us would impose a mindset to wage war according to some rule of civilization. This war is different. It is not about territory or commerce and joins the many now termed asymmetrical. He has looked beyond the present dispensation, has seen that it is a war for the very soul of the Filipino. It is total war, no holds barred. It is a civilizational discontinuity. On a personal note, if I had the opportunity, I would myself have killed the gang in Ateneo that destroyed the life of my son. I understand Duterte. The pain in his family is the same pain in mine. And it is the pain that he has seen in so many families in this country of ours. Marami pa yan. So, let me stop there.
Yeah. Medyo naantig ako dun sa mga revelation nyo. At nakita natin sa naging Pangulo natin ngayon, yung buhay na hindi natin ina-expect, no? Yung pagiging presidente ng taong walang suporta sa malalaking tao, sino man na nandiyan dyan. Pwede bang i-elaborate nyo po yung inyong mga sinulat dyan?
Maganda po sinabi niyo sapagkat yan po ang formula ng katipunan ng demokratikong.
Ayun.
Ang taong bayan.
Ang taong bayan.
Halimbawa, wala kaming pera. Ang pera po namin ay ang common tao.
Mas marami yun.
Mas marami.
Mas marami.
Kaya po, kung ibig po ninyong makiisa sa amin, maging miyembro, meron napakamahal na entrance fee.
Yun ay ang commitment.
Entrance fee.
Entrance fee?
You have to pay a very expensive entrance fee.
Magkano naman yun?
1 peso.
Oh.
The common tao's money.
1 peso.
1 peso.
That is very expensive.
Sapagkat kasama po niyan ang inyong layunin.
Yun nga eh. Yun nga yung sasabi ko, Ramon. Yung nakita natin dito sa inyong pinaglalaban, parang mas mahal pa yung commitment, no?
Ayun.
Na inyong ibinigay kesa dun sa presyong binayaran para maging miyembro lamang. Tama?
Tama yun.
So, sa inyong mga sinulat dyan, nakita natin parang nagiba yung dating kalakaran noong araw. Noong araw kasi bago ka maging presidente, bago ka maging senador, o bago ka maging congressman, kailangan malaking pera ang iyong ambag para sumali, tama?
Yan po pagkaiba.
Ano po yung sa katipunan?
We decided that we would be a party of principle.
Party of principle.
Not of money.
Yes.
Kaya ang umpisa po talagang wala. Mga kandidato po namin walang pera. Kailangan ang taong bayan kung believe sila sa mga sinasabi na kaming kandidato, tangkilikan po ninyo.
Yun. Medyo kaya nga ako napapunta at makausap kayo dahil ito yung ilang mga kaalaman na gusto kong marinig mula ho sa inyo. Yung tungkol sa katipunan ng demokratikong Pilipino. Paano ba ito naitatag at sino-sino ho yung mga kasama nyo rito?
Ang nag-umpisa po nito, ang aming chairman, si Antonio, si Boots Valdez.
Okay.
Ang kapampangan namin. At siya po may tuwing linggo meron siyang programa. Ang pangalan ng programa ay ang Katipunan Natin. At dahil yan, marami mga movement, mga kilusan na nabuo. Ako mismo, galing po ako sa Atom. No? Nung pinatay si Ninoy, nung bumalik siya.
Dati kayong taga-Atom.
Ako yung founding chairman, president. Yung chairman, si Butch Aquino. Okay. Sinamahan ko siya. Dahil sa ito umuwi lang. He was just going home, then they killed him. Never mind his politics or whatever he did or what. He was a Filipino coming home and they killed him. That's why the country erupted in anger. I led that. No? And then si Kabuts, mayroong kilusan na tawag Save the Nation Movement.
Yes.
Yung binuo, yung mga bad feelings about how the government was being run, it all ran into that. And then when the retired Marines, nakiisa sa amin, they formed another group. Bunga ng Save the Nation Movement. They call themselves Citizens National Guard. On the principle that this man Duterte was elected by the Filipino people.
Yes.
And the rumors were they were going to kill him. We were going to defend the president because he was duly elected by the people.
Yes.
That's how it started. And then, ngayon, daldal kami, wala naman nangyayari. So, we decided in one conversation to we were discussing, wala na tayong yung ginagawa kundi salita ng salita, wala man nangyayari, walang katunguhan. So, let's form a political party. Let's go into the expression of our public will through what the Constitution guarantees of a political party.
Doon na nag-umpisa?
Doon nag-umpisa.
Ayun.
Bigla pong nagising si Butch. Sabi niya, meron akong binuong political party noong 2003 pa.
2003 pa? Oh. That was 15 years ago.
15 years ago. Ano nangyari? Nakalimutan ko eh.
So matagal na pala to. Matagal na.
Pero hindi nga kumasa sapagkat hindi pa tawag ng bayan eh. Pero ngayon, ito na. Kailangan na ng bayan.
Okay. So, finally, itong 2018 lang siya naipasok.
Yes. But what happened during conversation, our Secretary General, si Dr. Rick Fulgencio, punta sa COMELEC to find out whether this KDP existed. And sabi ng Secretary, it exists.
Okay.
So he asked for the records, the Constitution, whatever it is. Wala po eh. Ano? Sabi ni Doc Rick, nasunog po. Remember that big fire of COMELEC? All the records were destroyed.
Tama.
So we were asked to reconstitute the records. And so it is dated again, not the 2003. 2018.
So, ibig sabihin, nagising ngayon ang tulog na partido.
Like I'm telling you, it's like an act of God.
Yes.
It comes at the proper time.
So, ngayon ay binuo ninyo itong tatlo. Kayo ang tatlong masigasig na bumuo nito.
Kami po tinatawag na triumvirate. Kami tatlo.
Triumvirate. Yan. Grabe, no? Pero kanina nahuhula ako sa inyong edad eh. Masigasig pa rin kayong gumawa ng mga bagay na para talaga sa katipunan. Ito nga yung natuwa ako at I came to realize, aabot pa kaya ako sa edad niyo? You're already 89 years old. And yet, you're still doing something good for the country. At your age, marami yung kayong gustong gawin. How much more yung mga bata pa, di ba? Yung mga millennials na sinasabi, parang wala pang nagagawa. Puro ingay lang. Ano bang difference ng panahon ninyo at saka yung ngayon?
Juvy, yung sinabi ko ay tumpak yun sapagkat yun ang nangyari sa akin.
Opo.
Meron pong kumataan ng isang tula.
Tula, yes.
Na sumindak sa aking puso. And I think it's the reason why I'm still around. let me tell you what
Pwede bang ano nyo? Ibahagi nyo rin sa amin din?
kapo po.
Yung tulang natanggap ninyo mula sa isang taong nakita ninyo para magustuhan din ang tulang yan.
Ito po isang inangkop na lang mula sa kata ni Popong noong Hulyo 25 ng 2006 pa.
Oh.
Papasahin ko po.
12 years ago. Okay.
Kayo po mga nakikinig, siguro mahawa-nawa nito.
Sige po. Pakinggan natin kasi isang pagpapala para sa akin na marinig yung mga untold story na binibigay niyo sa amin ngayon eh.
Ito po, para sa lahat sa atin. Patawad bukas. Patawad, mahal kong bayan. Hindi man nagtagumpay sa aking panahon. Sa kinabukasan ninyo, walang sapat na pabaon. Walang sapat na pabaon. Huwag ninyong tularan ang aking kahapon. Sa panalangin, umasa, darating din ang panahon. Tayo na mga tiga kahapon, hayaan natin sila, ating mga kabataan, bumuo ng kanilang sariling kinabukasan.
Hayaan. Ibig sabihin wala silang gabay? Ganun mo ba yun? Ibig sabihin ng tulang yan?
Bakit sila isip ng
parang sariling isip. Ayun. Well, alam niyo, namangha ako sa tulang yan kasi ako po'y produkto ng pamilyang manunula din. Yung aking tiyahin na mayapa na, si Betty Kamaligan Rojas, ay isa sa magaling na manunula ng Radyo ng Bayan ng araw. At dahil po sa kanya, natuturin po akong lumikha ng tula. Nagkaroon po ako ng damdamin na gumawa ng on the spot na tula. Pero sa nakikita ko ngayon, nawala na kasi yung mga gaya natin, namin, na manunula na merong kakayahan na ibukas sa mga isipan ng mga kabataan yung pangyayari ng araw. Kasi ngayon parang kakaiba na. Nakakalungkot nga sir ngayon kasi paperless na.
Yeah.
Hindi na nahahawakan yung ballpen at papel para sumulat, kundi pindot-pindot na lang. Medyo disadvantage para sa akin yon. Kasi
dalawang hinlalaki pa.
Opo, di ba? Well, naman ako sa pagiging sabi nga updated na raw tayo sa lahat ng siyensya. Yan. Pero yung sinasabi ninyo na bahala na ang mga kabataan na tumuklas ng kanilang kinabukasan. Ito po medyo malalim.
Sa kanila po itong bayan na ito.
Opo.
Kami po papanaw na kami.
Pero tiyak, pumanaw man ang sino man sa atin ay merong tatak na maiiwan para magsilbing gabay ng mga kabataan sa hinaharap.
Yeah. Kaya po, ito ang katipunan ng kabataan at ng mga tiga kahapon. Kaisa po sila.
Ayan. Kanina namali ako Parang ang dinig ko kasi KBP kasi ako yung miyembro ng KBP, Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster sa Pilipinas. At tayo po ay nakapagtunghay ng mga utak ng KDP. Yan po ang Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino. Katipunan. Ayon. Katipunan ng mga demokratikong Pilipino. Na kung saan mga kaibigan, ito ay ating alamin, no? Talagang napakarami hong mga makasaysayang pangyayari dito sa grupo na to. Na kung saan kakaiba, hindi pa natin narinig. Hindi pa panis na kwento. At syempre, ito po ay atin pang aalamin later on. Meron pa ba tayong ilang mga dyan? Idadagdag sa meron tayong reporter? Wala?
Iwan.
Baka pwedeng mag-report ka muna.
Pero Juvy, siguro pwede kong ipatalastas dito yung aming ideology.
Yes please.
Platform.
Sige po.
Para kilala ng taong bayan.
Sige po.
Yun ang KDP.
Okay.
Ito po yung plataforma ng KDP platform. Nasaan ka na?
Alam niyo mga kaibigan, napakaswerte rin ho natin na maintindihan ano man yung mga bagong partidong ipinanganganak ngayon, ay may karapatan naman po kayong magpaliwanag at nang malaman din ng tao. Sabi nga po, tayo naman yung kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng eleksyon, bumuboto sa kung kani-kaninong tao ay para din sa common tao, para sa kinabukasan ng mga kabataan. Hindi na sa matatanda kasi kumbaga sila po ang nag-iwan ng legacy at tayo po magpapatuloy ng mga magagandang bagay na pwede nating ituloy para sa susunod na henerasyon.
Okay.
Okay, sige po.
Atty. Juvy, asanit amon na political platform ng KDP. Ito ang plataforma politika ng kilusan, ng dating kilusan na galing sa Atom, galing sa Save the Nation movement, sa Citizen National Guard, Solidarity for Sovereignty, na ngayon nabuo bilang katipunan ng demokratikong Pilipino. We are the party of principle, not of convenience. We are the party of ideas and not of personalities. We are the party of solutions and not of promises. The national situation. The upper crust of our society, the 3%, nabanggit ko na ito,
yes,
are firmly ensconced in their economic and political power. And that society is erected on the bones of those who stood in the way of the rich and the powerful. A legislature that allowed itself to be prostituted by the most unqualified and incompetent presidency to unseat the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of this land that had ruled against his illegal family estate. The dismay at a religious leadership that has not only lost its prophetic voice, but has trespassed into dictating to Caesar the things that are of Caesar and becoming less and less themselves of the things of God. The poor are poorer, the rich are richer. Injustice rules the land. Ang kasalukuyang panalangin ng mga magulang sa kanilang mga anak ay binikas ng isang di kasalukuyang Pinoy. Patawad bukas. Hayaan natin ating mga anak buo ng kanilang sariling kinabukasan. Nabanggit ko na kanina.
Yes.
Our platform is that with God's grace and intervention, trusting on our people's determination and will to fulfill our quest for a Philippine Renaissance, we shall succeed. We are pursuing three main issues po, which have been ignored by all other political parties. Number one, the great sham of our elections. The Filipino people have become a side issue in elections rather than the principal players. Government is no longer of the people, by the people, for the people. It has become government of the COMELEC, by Smartmatic, for the package of a hidden cabal of treacherous Filipinos. The resulting falsification of the will of the people is treason at its worst. All government is based on the consent of the governed. If there is no consent, there is no government, because what the COMELEC has allowed rendered nugatory the very condition for the existence of representative democracy. Number two, a criminal and genocidal Department of Health. Through various administrations, this department, created to care for the Filipino people, has fallen into disrepute and distrust. For political and personal gain, this government agency has allowed itself to be a tool of the United States and the United Nations and the World Health Organization population reduction policies. It caused the vaccination of a laced tetanus toxoid vaccine on our young girls, preventing them from conceiving the next generation of the Filipino race. Lately, it has caused the inoculation of an unproven dengue vaccine upon our children, to the death and disability of countless thousands of our young. Number 3, the high cost of energy, of electricity, of water. 45 million Filipinos are below the poverty line, and jobs are inexistent in an impossible industrialization and agricultural revival, because the cost of energy in this country is among the highest in the world. The single biggest burden of the Filipino people is the cost of electricity, produced, transmitted, and distributed to every family and business by the ilustrado oligarchic class in our society. They do so at scandalous profit, protected by past administrations and foisted by the immoral Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001, otherwise known as the APIRA Law. It is a stranglehold on the economy of the Filipino people. As a political party, we are filing the appropriate cases in court on these issues, as well as on others involving violation of the Constitution and addressing the culture of impunity in public office. We will provide solutions. We shall present to our people not empty promises, but a program of government which defines what we are. On economic policy, we will move towards the path of agro-industrial development, away from being a service economy and the world's supplier of domestic helpers. The world is now facing its worst financial and economic crisis in history. Our country is not prepared to face the effects of a global financial meltdown. The new paradigm initiated by China, Russia, and a host of other countries through the One Belt, One Road is the only clear alternative available to us to survive the catastrophe. We must take advantage of these and actively participate in infrastructure building, in energy and water management projects for our preparation and survival. We must review the terms and nature of our commitment to shoulder onerous and immoral debt service payments, now the largest financial drain on our budget. On foreign policy, we will participate in every effort to prevent World War III and move towards global peace and economic development. We must consciously avoid being sucked into geopolitical movements of superpowers which will threaten the security of our nation and the lives of our population. We must be a friend to all, an enemy to none. On education policy, we will adopt a policy exposed to the fields of the sciences, engineering, and the best of classical culture, all focused on developing the inherent Filipino creativity in achieving the national objective of a renaissance in our country. We must support the national goals of agro-industrialization and infrastructure development, which will require a redirection of the education of our youth. On agricultural policy, no country can rightly call itself a nation that cannot feed its own people. Given the chance, our party shall embark on a program of massive food production, which is science-driven and infrastructure-based, to produce much more than what is merely enough for our people. We should not be dependent on importation of our food needs anymore. We do not subscribe to import liberalization as a policy and be dependent on other countries for our survival. It is a critical element in providing for a healthy an intelligent workforce to meet the demands of industrial growth. On social welfare policy, we aim to address the welfare of the forgotten Filipinos, those who constitute the most fundamental unit of Philippine society, the family. Contrary to the constitutional mandate, the family has been battered by socio-economic policies which tend to destroy rather than to protect it. Unwise economic programs, proliferation of drugs, morally questionable TV shows, and a general miseducation of our youth are but a few aspects which threaten the sacred values of the traditional Filipino family. The dismantling of families has left its youthful members at the mercy of a hostile environment, getting sucked into drug addiction and crime. Even more forgotten Filipinos are the 30 million of our cultural minorities, the original peoples of this great archipelago who have been ignored by the national government for decades, leaving them vulnerable to destructive ideologies and terrorist tendencies. The organizational structure of the KDP will reflect this primordiality of the Filipino family. Ito po ang bagong himagsikan. We must shake off, excise the evils of our past, destroy the enemies of the people, and bring our people into the promised land that our national patriot, the Supremo Andres Bonifacio, dreamed about so long ago. Will the people rise again in revolution? Aalsa ba kaya muli ang taong bayan? A revolution from the betrayal by the Ilustrados in our society? Isang bagong himagsikan mula noong kataksilan ng mga Ilustrado? Will the people rise into a state of war in civil disobedience to the status quo against the present system of a government run like hell? We are the voice of an angry nation. We have waited so long. Our aspiration. The Filipino race demand a new face in politics, and it has come to you today. We hope to reach and inspire all citizens to see in us a party for the future, isang partido po para sa kinabukasan, ang katipunan ng demokratikong Pilipino. Ito po ang aming platforma. Salamat.
Wow! I was amazed, no? Mga kaibigan, yan po ang himagsikan ng mga bagong bayani ngayon. Yan po yung sinasabi natin, mukhang nabuhay si Andres Bonifacio. Ayan. So, mga kaibigan, with that, no, meron ho tayong report muna mula kay Gina Garcia from Negros Oriental. Okay.
Si Aling Gina.
Opo. Okay, take away, Gina Garcia.
Buntag.
Yes, opo, sir. Magandang gabi po sa mga lahat ng mga taga-pakinig at taga-pagsubaybay sa programang ito. Nandito ako ngayon sa may boulevard namin. Sa syudad ng Tanay City, ito ay tinatawag naming boardwalk sa tabi ng dagat. At dito, makikita natin ang mga nagdagsaang mga namamasyal dito. May mga nakadisplay na mga iba't ibang mga pagkain dito sa may boulevard. At ito ay tinatawag naming boardwalk. Gabi-gabi, patuloy pa rin ang kasiyahan dito. At samantalang patuloy pa rin ang PNP personnel namin dito sa Tanay para sa checkpoint sa may National Highway araw at gabi. Ang checkpoint namin dito, ito ay pinanguluhan ni Police Superintendent Jingle V. Loco mula dito sa province of Negros Oriental. Ang channel Gina Garcia Kaka nagulat.
Okay, maraming salamat sa iyo, Gina Garcia mula sa Negros Oriental.
Salamat, Manang Gina.
Ayan. Nako, kita mo naman yung ating mga balita. Napakalayo na ng ating kaalaman, no? Malayo-layo rin yung Negros Oriental. Ano ba mga salita dyan, Ramon?
What?
Bisaya.
Bisaya, of course.
Ayun. Bisaya.
Negros.
Okay. Alam niyo mga kaibigan, dito lang ho magtatapos ang ating programa sa ating pag-usapan natin at maraming salamat po sa binigay na impormasyon ni Ramon Pedrosa na inyo pong natunghayan dito lamang ho sa channel na ito. Muli po, ako po si Juvy De Guzman. Sa ngalan po ni Victor Kenji, nagpapasalamat po.
Maraming salamat po.
Network News.
Tumatakbong senador ang ekonomista at dating undersecretary ng Department of Education na si Antonio Butch Valdez. Isa sa mga plano ni Valdez na isulong sa Senado ay ang parusang kamatayan laban sa mga crimes against humanity, gaya ng mass murder. Kilalanin natin si Butch Valdez at alamin ang kanyang top 3 legislative agenda sa hashtag Desisyon 2019 report ni Pichi Gonzales.
Electoral reform, COMELEC lang ang magpatakbo sa eleksyon para maproteksyonan ang boto ng mga Pilipino. Death penalty laban sa mga crime against humanity gaya ng mass murder. I-repeal ang ipiralo na siyang lalong nagpapahirap sa mamamayan. Iyan ang top 3 legislative agenda ni Antonio Butch Valdez, tumatakbo sa pagkasenador sa ilalim ng Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino o KDP. Sa panayam ng hashtag Desisyon 2019, sinabi ni Valdez, alinsunod na rin sa saligang batas, ang COMELEC lamang ang dapat na nagpapatakbo ng eleksyon sa bansa at hindi dapat umaasa sa mga banyaga o pribadong kumpanya tulad ng Smartmatic. Giit nito, panahon na para magkaroon ng sariling kakayahan ng COMELEC gaya ng pagkakaroon ng sariling mga equipment para maiwasan ang dayaan sa pagpili ng mga mahahalal na lider at maibalik ang tiwala ng publiko. Isusulong din ni Valdez ang parusang kamatayan laban sa mga crime against humanity gaya ng mass murder. Unang halimbawa na anya dito ang Demvaxia mass vaccination kung mapapatunayan mang sinadya o pinlanong turukan ang halos 1 milyong kabataan sa kabila ng mga precaution na delikado at maaari itong makamatay sa mga hindi pa nagkakaroon ng dengue. Ayon kay Valdez, dapat patawan ng death penalty ang mga tiwali para hindi na maulit ang ganitong klase ng malawakang pagpatay. Nais ding tutukan ni Valdez ang mataas na singil ng kuryente sa Pilipinas na ani ay pinakamataas sa buong mundo. Ang dahilan, ang Electric Power Industry Reform Act o IPIRA-LO. Dahil dito, hihilingin umano ni Valdez sa presidente na mag-declare ng state of emergency para suspindihin ang IPIRA-LO, reviewin ito at habang isinasa ilalim sa review, ay bigyan ng 50% discount sa electricity bills ang mga Pilipino. Ayon kay Valdez, ang tatlong issue na nabanggit ay mga issue na hindi kayang banggain ng mga nakaupong politiko at political party.
Meron kami pong pinapangako sa inyo, may detalye, no? May detalye at may specifics kaming gagawin. It is not general motherhood statements that I'm telling you. Makikita nyo sa mga ibang mga politiko, ihahamon namin kayo sa kahirapan at gagawin natin ito o kaya ayusin. Pero they don't tell you about this.
Manatiling nakasubaybay sa hashtag Desisyon 2019 upang ganap yung makilala ang mga kandidato. Tandaan, sa ating pagboto para sa mayor o governor, congressman o senador, boboto ka para sa Pilipinas. Boboto ka para sa bayan. Pichi Gonzales, DZRH, kauna-unahan sa Pilipinas.
I-like po ang page ng DZRH News Television para updated at i-share ang trending news na balitang ito para mas marami ang makabalita at mag-comment para alam namin ang opinion mo.